right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Communitech Good AI webinar series, Good AI Talks. Thanks for joining us today as we delve into the importance of data health and how it's vital to the AI lifecycle. Now, before we dive into our discussion, it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker, Garry Mon. Garry is the CEO and founder of Ample Insight, a Toronto-based AI consulting firm that helps companies build and scale their AI and data solutions. Prior to Ample Insight, he co-founded Brilliant, an AI SaaS company that was recognized as a leading innovator in talent discovery, and was also one of the first data scientists at Meta, where he helped establish core data science practices. He remains an expert in the field of AI and data science, providing help and guidance for companies to accelerate their growth, and we're really lucky to have him today. Please join me extending a big, warm virtual welcome to Garry Ma. I'm sure his extensive knowledge will help you learn something new today. All right, thanks again, Garry. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Andrea. It's great to meet everyone. All right, let me just start off by sharing my screen. Okay, are we good, Andrea? Do you see my screen? Okay, wonderful. All right, thank you for attending today's webinar, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the importance of data quality in building trusted AI, right? So why is that important? Is because you want to, of course, instill trust in your AI solutions and products by your customers and users. But to instill that trust, you must first instill trust in the data that powers it, right? And this is a quote by the Chief Data Officer and SVP of Global Data Compliance by Salesforce, Wendy Batchelder, right? To dive into or to shed a bit more light on my background. So I'm Garry again, and I'm the CEO and founder of Ample Insight. We help startups and large companies across the globe and diverse industries build AI solutions and help solve some of their most challenging data problems. In my previous role, I was a co-founder and CEO of Brilliant. We worked with a lot of very large staffing companies and employers, mostly in North America, in terms of helping them streamline their recruiting operations using AI. Previous to that, I was one of the first data scientists at Facebook, where I helped launch many of its core products that you see today, right? Okay, so for today's agenda, we'll first dive into, again, a deeper dive into why data quality matters. Then we're going to look at the dimensions of data quality and what does actual data quality mean. And then we're going to step into some of the strategies for ensuring data quality and discuss some of the tools that will help you on your journey to achieve data quality, and finally, how that all comes together in helping you build trusted AI. Right? Okay, so why does data quality matter? So I'm sure you've all heard different types of figures and metrics on how fast the size of our data is growing, and also the size of the AI space, right? So this is a chart from McKinsey where they estimated the size of or the total value of AI and analytics across different industries, right? And it's up to 15 trillion. And with the largest sectors being in consumer packaged goods and in retail, right? But diving in a bit further, we are going to look at a survey done by Salesforce in 2023, where they actually surveyed over 5,000 IT and analytics decision makers, and also over 5,000 business leaders as well, right? And in this survey, 92% of the IT and analytics decision makers say that trustworthy data is now needed more than ever, and that they agree that AI outputs are only as good as its data inputs. But interestingly, as well, only 6% of these leaders describe that data maturity, their own organization's data maturity, is below the industry standards. So this is, as suggested by this survey, and also from our own experience, that seems to be a pretty gross underestimate of the number of organizations who are not employing data best practices or data quality best practices, right? But it also shows that it is very difficult to benchmark something like this. And there is a bit of overconfidence here as well. And that's easy to interpret because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know, right? And so it is really important for us to dive into topics such as data quality and trusted AI, right? Okay, so if this, despite the very positive self-assessment by IT and analytics leaders, about 94% of them believe that they can derive more value from data, right? So there is definitely room for improvement. And of the top 5 items in their priority list, improving data quality is number 1. Right. So majority of folks are very do believe that they can extract more value, but what's stopping them, right? And here you see the top 5 reasons on the left side for the business leaders and the top 5 reasons on the right side for analytics and IT leaders. So the top 5 challenges, right? On the left side, you see mostly it's about data operations and training. On the right side for the IT leaders is more so about data quality and data trust. Right. And depending on, and very interestingly, depending on which department you talk to across an organization, their belief in or their trust in the data is actually different, right? Not surprisingly. So but what may be surprising is that on the data and analytics side or people who work on the data analytics and these leaders have very high trust in the data. Whereas the further you get away from that on the sales and service side, the lower the trust. So this shows us that we should have more transparency and more training within these organizations to ensure that everyone has the same understanding and the same level of trust within their data and has the ability to actually use the data to make decisions. Cool. All right. So now that we know that why data quality is important, let's dive into some of the dimensions of data quality, right? So measuring data quality, if you haven't measured it before, it can feel very subjective, right? But it's very important to have these standard definitions across the industry and across your organization. So data quality can be defined in terms of validity, consistency, completeness, timeliness, and uniqueness, right? And we'll dive into all 5 of these dimensions, and we'll have examples here as well. So the first one is validity, right? Validity means that data is valid if it conforms to a particular syntax that aligns with its definition, meaning that it should conform to a specific format, a type, and a range, right? So if you have a date field, it shouldn't be random text. It should not be numbers. If you have Unix time, it should be consistent. It should be it should have a valid Unix time, right? If it's a year and a month and a date, it should have that format as inputted into your database, right? And so some of the practical implications of this, for example, in healthcare, if a patient's medical dosage information is incorrect, right? For example, it contains the incorrect value or units, it could lead to incorrect dosing, which is extremely dangerous, right? Or in aviation, if a flight scheduling system contains invalid values for its dates or times, then it could lead to collisions of the planes or even scheduling conflicts, right? If you're looking at consistency of the data, it means that data between different data stores, data of the same type, for example, should be consistent, right? And they should not have contradictions. So an example of this is that addresses between different database tables should have the same format, right? For example, if in a banking system, a customer's account balance is inconsistent between different systems or different different systems or different products, then it could lead to, of course, unauthorized overdrafts or other inconsistencies, either fraud or unhappy customers, right? In pharmaceuticals, drug formulation data, for example, if that is inconsistent between different manufacturing batches or plants, it could cause things like incorrect dosages in the medication, right? Which is, of course, very dangerous. So data completeness is relatively self-explanatory. It just means that data shouldn't be missing, right? Data should have all of its parts, right? So, for example, in your customer database, it should have all of the contact fields, right? And some practical implications of this is, for example, in emergency services, if people's apartment numbers are missing, then it could cause delays by first responders, right? Or in the oil and gas industry, maintenance records are very important. And if you have a drilling rig that has missing records, it could lead to undetected wear and tear on equipment, which can actually lead to catastrophic failure as well. Right? Timeliness is also pretty self-explanatory. It means that data should come in when it's needed, and be on time, right, within expectations. So you shouldn't, if you have a data warehouse of sales data, it shouldn't come in days behind or even weeks behind, right? If you're looking at retail, and if you have real-time inventory data, you should ensure that that is up to date, right? Otherwise, you might have very unhappy customers where they've made a purchase, but then you're telling them later that certain products are not available, right? And on the stock market side, for example, if you're using a stock price API, you're expecting it to be in real time. If it's not, and if there's delays, then there's, of course, can cause significant loss. Oops. Okay, so the last dimension is data uniqueness. So this is where you should ensure that data isn't duplicated, right? And we see this quite often, where for example, products log duplicate data, or when doing joins of data, suddenly there are duplicates introduced as well, right? And this is really really easy to introduce into your data, so definitely be careful of this. In healthcare, for example, if data records are duplicated, then different health providers may be accessing different histories, some complete, some incomplete, and it could lead to misdiagnosis or other incorrect treatments. In transportation, for example, if you have a booking system or reservation system and bookings are duplicated unintentionally, then you could have very unhappy customers, right? Okay. All right. So we looked at why data quality matters and the dimensions of data quality. So now we're going to go into some of the strategies for ensuring data quality, right? And one thing that's really important to note is that data quality is not, although it can be overseen by a committee or a group, it should be everyone's responsibility, both the technical folks and the business folks, right? And this first step to ensuring data quality is ensuring the alignment of all of these different data stakeholders. So, of course, very importantly, we need to have data governance, a strong set of policies for data governance. This, of course, ensures that you're not only compliant within with laws, right, regional laws, but you're also everyone has a standardized understanding of what it means to access to collect data, manage data, and access data, right? It also brings a lot of benefits to organizations as well. It helps you with data, building data trust and efficient data use, right? On the right side, you see the different functions that data governance serve as well between different organizations of different maturity. And if I'm going too fast, don't worry. This video, I believe, will be made available after this webinar as well, so you can always refer back. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is if you're faced with new data or messy data, right, it's important to profile that data to understand the data, its relationships, its qualities, but also its data issues, right? So you examine the data for this and you clean the data to make sure that it's clean and can be trusted for whatever purpose you need it for. But after you clean your data, it's also important to ensure that you continually monitor new data coming in, right? And you continuously validate that data as well, right? To ensure that you not only have trusted data now, but you have trusted data going forward. So once you've built all those processes, it's important to make sure that the entire organization or your entire team understands what's gone into building that data quality or ensuring that data quality and how data can be used and what policies they should follow. It's important to make sure that there is a consistent level of training across your organization, right? And it's important as well to build a strong data quality culture where everyone cares about the data because they can then trust the products that are being built by the engineering team or data science team, and they can use data to make informed business decisions as well. Okay, so there of course, again, right, many benefits to data culture, right? Some of the benefits include greater productivity within your organization, stronger ability to innovate, right? Because they have data that they can trust, and stronger or better customer service, more confident decision making, and cost savings and faster decision making as well, right? And some of the barriers, again, to this data culture is this insufficient training. I actually feel like it should be higher on this list, because if you have proper training on your technical staff, that they would know how to employ proper security and privacy standards, and they would be able to better ensure data quality as well, right? And lastly, so once all that is employed within the organization, we should make sure that feedback is easy, right? So between the technical team and the non-technical team, there should be communications as well. And that feedback is always very easy, as data quality is something, and data culture and AI is something that is not static and evolves over time, right? So the data quality and your data policies and governance policies should also, and frameworks should also evolve over time and adapt as well. Cool. All right. Now we have a short break and a few, I think, additional survey questions as well.
So there's 2 more polling questions. I just put them up. I'll wait for most people to answer and then we can move forward.
Okay, great.
And just as a reminder, we do have that Q&A function. If anyone has any questions throughout the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session at the end where Garry can address those questions.
Yes, please feel free to ask away. Am I able to, should I share the poll results as it's live?
I can share them afterwards if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, it does seem like folks have data consistency and completeness is the top concern, or are the top concerns.
All right, Garry, I think I'll leave it open a little bit in case anyone else wants to finish it, but you can proceed, please.
Okay, all right. So thank you. So next we're going to talk about data tools, right? So we've talked about why data quality matters, the dimensions of data quality and strategies for ensuring data quality. And now we're going to talk about some of the tools that are available to you to help you achieve stronger data quality. All right. So of course, use the right tools for the job, and the right tools can really help you dramatically increase your data health efforts, or help you have better effectiveness and efficiency in your data health efforts. So, but data tools, especially relating to data quality, the landscape is somewhat confusing because there's a lot of different overlapping features and a lot of different integrations between these tools as well. But the core features center around data quality, observability, cataloging, and there's also for slightly larger organizations also data fabric platforms as well that consolidate all these different tools and provides a unified layer for your data as well. Right. So first, let's dive into data quality. So data quality tools focus on mostly profiling your data and ensuring or helping you detect data quality issues, right? Examples include Informatica's data quality tool and Atacama as well. So top, you see Informatica, you see that this is, I believe, looking at different columns of a particular table and measuring, for example, number of nulls or empties and other data quality dimensions. And at the bottom, you see Atacama, where it's looking at a slightly more sophisticated, looking at a particular table and the columns there and overall health. Right, data observability focuses, again, there's a lot of overlap between these different tools, but data observability for the most part focus on monitoring data health and your data pipeline health as well, right? And helps you, of course, observe your data or discover new data sets, right? At the top, you see Monte Carlo, which, and that particular screen is showing you I believe the runtimes and the successes of your data pipelines, right? And the bottom screenshot is Big Eye, and that is showing you data lineage, or how your data flows from one data store to another, connected by data pipelines. Right, data cataloging is more focused on the taking an inventory of all of your data assets, right? It provides a central sort of a centralized look overview of all of your data. And at the top, you see Calibra, and it shows you all the data integrations or all the data stores that you have in consolidated view. And at the top is Elation, which is another data tool, and it's showing you additional data or metadata for one of the tables in this particular example, all of the data tables. Cool. All right, so data fabric platforms are, so when you have lots of data scattered across different places and lots of different tools that access the data, it might be very frustrating, right? Especially for large organizations that want to centralize this function. So they can use something like a data fabric to unify the management and access of different data sources. And these are usually larger companies that provide these tools. One is Palantir Foundry, right? They provide pretty extensive tools for managing all of your data. And another is Microsoft Fabric, right? And Microsoft Fabric has incorporated a lot of their existing tools in the central Microsoft Fabric platform, right, including Power BI as well for visualizing data. Right. At this point, I'd like to introduce Atlas, which is a data quality platform that we've actually built. So we work with a lot of different orgs across the different industry sizes and geos. And before we help them build AI solutions or AI products, we always look at data quality and assess the data, right? And so we actually made an internal tool to help us streamline this process. and to help us save time and money from our clients. But it is a tool that we're thinking, we have been thinking of releasing publicly. And this is, we're right now in this public release, and we're working with Communitech. So if you're curious and want to learn more or want to try out the tool, there is a Communitech partner promo as well. So please feel free to reach out after the webinar. Okay, all right. So next we're going to we've gone through all of the aspects of data quality, how to ensure data quality as well. But next, let's see how data quality fits into building trusted AI, right? And building good AI, right, is like preparing a nutritious meal, right, where the ingredients are your data. And between different organizations and different governments, they have many different standards and recommendations, right? But the core principles are these three, right? Building transparent, explainable, and accountable AI, making it safe and sensible for human society and the environment, ensuring that it's fair and have human-centric values as well, right? When building the AI. So, what do these terms mean, right? Transparency means that, or a transparent AI allows stakeholders to better understand and audit the AI, right? In terms of this, its decisions. So explainability means that users should be able to understand and interpret the AI decisions. And through our experience, when explainability or transparency is not there, usually there is no trust in the AI, right? And accountability is important as well, because people and organizations should be held responsible for ensuring that not only that in its initial release, AIs are performing as intended, but on an ongoing basis as well, that continues to function properly. Oops. Okay. So of course, AI should also be safe. And when creating AI, sensible decisions should be made, right? But not only on the specific context in which the AI will be applied, but in terms of the broader impact on society and environments as well. And AI systems should be made where there should be a clear set of, or a clearly articulated set of public benefits, right? For those who interact with the system or AI, and also for those that are impacted by it. And of course, AIs, a lot of times we use AIs to help us streamline decision-making and make faster decisions. But in it, we should ensure that the decisions that are made are fair, right? We should ensure that any sort of biases are detected and also addressed, right? Blaming the data for biases is never an excuse, or never a valid excuse, right? We should make sure that we study the data, we know what the data, the qualities of the data and the shortcomings of the data, and improve the data or address those data issues, right? And throughout the AI's life cycle, we should also ensure that it respects human rights, diversity, and autonomy of individuals as well. And expanding on that, right? A lot of you and us as well, of course, given the trends and given the trends in generative AI are very, this is top of mind for a lot of us. And most from the sales survey, Salesforce survey, right? 83% or the majority of IT leaders do feel that generative AI should be used ethically, right? And this is really important, but only 30% of those folks feel that there should be ethical use guidelines made into requirements, right? So there's a bit of a disconnect there. As I think most of these leaders or IT leaders are still concerned about operationalizing generative AI, right? And on this chart, you can see the top the top requirements by these IT leaders. And on the bottom pie charts, you see the top concerns, right? Okay, so what does it mean to put all that into practice? And does it really help your organization, right? To add transparency and explainability and have all these different considerations in your AI products or systems, right? So we have a case study, and we worked with a client in the past that was a medical device company. The problems that they faced was they had high volumes of IoT data coming in, right? It's per patient, it's multi-device setup, and there's lots of data issues ranging from duplication to missing data to anonymous readings, right? Which is normal in IoT settings, right? And especially within if it's a medical device detecting signals from the human body, right? So how do we address issues like this? We actually help them build a set of very comprehensive data processing workflows and standards that help them facilitate data cleaning and adding data transparency and explainability throughout their data workflows, right? So by adding that, at each step along the way of data processing, they're able to see, their employees were actually able to see and explain the results of the data and detect any sort of anomalies and data issues very early within their data pipeline. And this allowed them to trust their data, which allowed their customers to trust their data, but ultimately to also trust their full product and solution as well. Right. All right. So in closing, I'd like to share some final thoughts and jump into the Q&A as well. So like your personal health, right? Data health is a continuous investment. It's not you exercise one day and you're done, right? Or eat a healthy meal and you're done. It's a continuous investment, right? And it's also like health, right? There's no perfect health, right? But you should always aim to be healthy, and it's never too late to start, right? And you should always work with all of your data stakeholders to create a sustainable strategy. You should continually to monitor and aim to improve and adapt and evolve, and use tools where appropriate, and always be mindful and create good AI. Thank you.
Okay, Garry, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. You've made the importance of ensuring data quality so clear. Appreciate all the commentary. So let's answer some questions. Feel free to drop them into the chat or the Q&A box. We do have one person that asked a couple of slides previously. You were talking about percentage of people that actually care about quality data. They were asking, is this global data, Canada, US? It's a huge discrepancy depending on where it's coming from.
So do you recall the slide?
Yeah, I think it was the one with the orange diagrams, like near the end.
Near the end. Okay. Oh, all of these surveys, this one?
Yes.
For generative AI. Yeah, this is global data. So this is global data across different countries and across different sectors as well.
Okay. Okay, and then we have in the chat 2 questions.
Yeah.
One person asks, can you please share some best practices for maintaining data quality over time, especially when you're in dynamic environments?
Data quality over time. So basically what we went through, which is building a strong data culture, ensuring that all the stakeholders are, because it's a long-term investment, right? Like you're not usually, unless you have one particular set of data and you do data profiling and data cleaning, if you want to have consistently good data, it's more so about building that culture and building that transparency within that data culture as well. So all stakeholders are in the know about the standards and best practices. And then it's using the right tools and the right methodologies and workflows to ensuring data quality over time. But if you have further questions, please, of course, feel free to reach out and we can connect offline after this as well.
Okay, and then this next question is kind of asking, Is there a way to make sure your data is 100% clean and 100% high quality? Is this possible? How can we ensure this?
With a lot of investment. So when you're looking at so 100% is usually very difficult, right? There are certain situations where that's a requirement, right? So you have different systems in place, but it's also a combination of of automated checks, but also human checks as well, right? You would insert more validation workflows within each step of your data processing, right? So when you first acquire the data, when you process, and at each step where data is consumed or processed, you would either have people, analysts, looking at the overall data, or even people who label the data and ensuring that there is data quality as well, right? 100% is definitely, well, depending on the data size and the breadth of the data. But if we're talking about large amounts of data for large organizations, it's definitely very challenging. But for smaller startups, sometimes possible.
Okay, it's a fair question. So I have another one. I'm kind of wondering. So you've mentioned that it should be a team effort, a company-wide effort. But should you have one single person kind of in charge of making sure that everything is consistent, making sure that data quality is consistent across the organization, or is it really a team effort, like you said?
There should definitely be accountability and ownership. So depending on the organization size, it might be a committee or a team. So for data governance, for example, there should be a committee with folks representing each division and department, right? So they all have a voice. Within a smaller startup, it could be an individual who is a champion, but also ensuring that everyone within the team is able to appreciate data quality, right? Why it's important, right? They understand why it's important, but also what are some of the best practices that relate to them in their day-to-day role.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. And unless someone has any other questions, I think, oh, we do. Amazing. Okay. How can you ensure data health when you're using public data? That's a good question.
So public data and or third-party data. So we use that a lot of times as well to help augment our clients' data or our own data. And it's a similar process. And this is why we also created Atlas as well. Our own data quality tool is we're faced with new data constantly, right? And so we need to do data profiling and data cleaning. So assessing all of the data, assessing the relationships of the data. What's the data trying to tell us? Are there any biases in the data? So doing this data profiling is extremely important. Yeah.
And then we have another question. Should you trust a single AI LLM source or use multiple ones and have human monitoring of which is providing the better results?
That question, it depends. So yeah, we have different in our experience, LLMs and particular LLMs, they have their own specialty and quirks. Sometimes one is more accurate at doing something and another is better at doing something else. So it really depends on and depends on the function. Are you trying to generate new text or customer responses or provide like NLP, not NLP services, but perform NLP on certain types of data, or trying to do data analysis using the LLM. So it really depends on the particular purpose and the amount of data that you're looking at. So cost and accuracy definitely comes into play. But again, if you provide more specifics offline and connect with me, I'm happy to share more details there.
Yeah, it seems like the answer is always, it depends of this kind of stuff. Okay, how is outdated or incorrect data reconciled with the addition of conflicting data?
Could you repeat that question?
Yeah, I think you can see the questions too if you go into the Q&A session, but
how is outdated or incorrect data? reconcile with the addition. How is outdated or incorrect data reconciled with the addition of conflict? Do you mean that what happens when you have outdated and incorrect data and conflicting data? I'm not sure if they're able to respond in chat.
You should be able to.
But okay. But yeah, I mean when there's so I'll answer on high level. So when there's when you have multiple data, when new data corrects existing incorrect data. Okay. So then that begs the question, like, how do you know the new data is correct? So there's a lot of different variation. The answer is still, it depends.
Yeah.
So it depends on if you have one trusted source like that, you know, is a source of truth, and other data that you're using to augment this data, or vice versa. And typically when you have conflicting data, you do need to know which one is the more trusted source. And you would need to, yeah, sometimes you just go with a single source of truth, right? And ignore the other data or incorrect data. But other times you need to consolidate the data sources and you need to consolidate the data sources, and in which case you would need to, again, profile all of the data. So the important thing is to understand the context of the data, right? So not only the data in front of you, but where is the data coming from? How is it being generated? And how will it be used, right? So those are very important contexts to consider in terms of knowing what workflows to use with your data, and how much data quality is required, right? So again, 100% data quality is not required 100% of the time, right? It really depends on this on the particular use cases of that data.
Okay, and then this might be a good question to end on unless there's any more, but we have a couple thumbs up for this question. What is the best way to get in contact with you?
All right, yeah, so my email is gary@endpointsight.com, or you can, I believe, we'll also share our contact information and my contact information after the webinar as well.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Okay, then thanks again for our fantastic speaker, Garry Ma, for that insightful talk. I've pasted all of his information, his LinkedIn and ImpleInsight website in the chat, so please check that out. A lot of great resources on there. So just to kind of promote Get AI, we have our next webinar coming up on August 15th, featuring an AI and data practice leader from EY on the topic of enterprise perspectives on AI, exploring Gen AI and its challenges. And then we also have, I'll paste that in the chat. We also have a Good AI in-person event coming up on June 25th, where we'll discuss the acceleration of AI adoption. So that's going to be a really interesting talk. Please join us for that. Link is in the chat for everything, and hope to see you all soon. Thanks for attending. We'll send all of Garry's info afterwards, but thank you, Garry, once again. Great talk.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Andrea.